radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening, Fade to Black. How you doing? Today's Wednesday, August 20th, 2025. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's do this, man. Very excited about the show tonight. What a great week on Fade to Black. Monday night, Suzanne Ross was with us, Souls in Simulation. Last night, Riz Burke, always great when he's here. Did not disappoint last night. Great conversation, living in the simulation. Tonight, Dalia Burgoin is joining us. Mindsight, Without Eyes. And then tomorrow night, Trevor Grassi joins us. I've been wanting to have Trevor on the show for many years, but over the last year, it has blown up all over the internet. You know what I'm talking about. That is the SARS project. So Trevor's going to come on and discuss his and his team's efforts with the SARS project, finding out what is underneath Giza. This is tomorrow night here on Fade to Black. What an amazing week. All right. Now, I have 7 events coming up all in 2026. I have cleared the calendars for the rest of 2025, just focusing on Beyond Belief and that travel every month. But I do have 7 events coming up in 2026. Conscious Life Expo, February 20th through the 23rd at the LAX Hilton, followed by the Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd in Delavan, Wisconsin at Delavan Lake. Then Contact in the Desert, May 28th through June 1st, 2026. Tickets available Thanksgiving Day. Then I head to Peru for the Inca Celebration of the Sun. That is June 23rd through July 1st, 2026. Then I come back for the Monty Python Tour of Scotland, August 1st through the 9th of 2026. Then I go back to Peru and Easter Island in November of 2026. All of the information that you need are in the links below. Tickets, speakers, what's going on. Everything you need is right there in the links below. All right. Let's get to it. I've been wanting to do this show for a long time. And I had the opportunity to hang out with Dalia a couple of weeks ago. And a serious hangout, by the way, and immediately knew we were going to have her on the show as soon as possible. So it is happening tonight. Dalia Burgoin is with us. We're going to be talking about Mindsight, seeing without eyes tonight. Yes. What is Mindsight? Well, it is the ability to see without physical eyes. She shares on how this skill is transforming not only healing and communication, but our understanding of human potential. We're going to go through all of that tonight. Her full bio is below and over on our website, including the Mindsight website. So all of that is there for you. But I want to get straight to it. We have a lot to talk about tonight. So I'm going to bring her in. She's right there. Dalia Burgoin. Dalia, what's going on?
Hello, Jimmy. I'm so excited to be talking to you. And yeah, when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, man, this guy is so awesome. And I just love your energy. And I was a big fan before I saw you at Contact. I did see you at Contact this year too.
Yeah. Contact and then the Psy Games. I was man, we had so much fun. I mean, I'm going to say this. All right. I host a lot of events. I'm on stage a lot and I enjoy it. I have never had somebody lay me out flat on my back. Right. I hit the step. Boom. That was crazy. That was so much fun. That was so much fun. And now, let's get one thing out of the way really quick because I'm excited that you're here. But you get the first time guest disclaimer. Yeah, it's your first time on the
Okay.
show. So this is the first time guest disclaimer. Dahlia, it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. Where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends. But we're going to end as friends. We're already friends, but you still have to accept so we can move on.
Sounds good. I accept. I just wish I
Okay.
was there having a drink with you. So,
Yeah, I know. With all of the craziness and the fun and everything that we had, we certainly hung out and had a lot of time to talk. So we spent a lot of time on stage together too. But we didn't get a chance to like sit down and break bread and do all of that. But we'll be doing that soon next month. We're going to be doing that in San Diego, aren't we? That's going to be a lot of fun.
yeah, I only just found out today you were going to be there, and I got so excited. I was in front of a lot of people, and I was like, "Oh, my, Jimmy's going to be there," and I just got extra excited. And I was like, "He is so awesome. He's going to just really amp up that event so much," and so I'm very excited about that.
You know, just like everything else, though, Dahlia, it's the speakers, it's the people that are attending. When you do it at a level that Suzanne does it, it's easy for me because I'm feeding off of that, right? It's just easy. Everybody's already there to be elevated. I just push it over the cliff, and do my thing. But it's going to be great, man. We're going to do a dinner cruise.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang out for the weekend, but I'm going to host this cruise. And you know what? Food, drink, music, friends, a boat, San Diego Bay.
And
Let's
I'm
do
excited
this.
that it's going to be like a love consciousness type of energy. It's not going to be the kind that's all about skepticism and all of this stuff. It's just going to be about people who are already in this. They're already in
Right.
that frequency of love and coherence. So you didn't mention my daughter, but I wanted to say so my daughter is a telepath. And she has these incredible abilities that we can just go on forever and talk for hours about her abilities and what I've learned. But one of the things that she does is before we do an event, she will go into the timeline of the event and she will scope it out, and then she'll come back and tell me whether it was good or we're definitely going to be there. So she told me that this event is fantastic. She did it right in front of Suzanne. She said, "Oh,
What's her? For the audience, what's her name?"
Her name is Liduvina, and I call her Lidu. So if I mention Lidu, we're gonna be talking about some telepathy stuff.
Yeah. I just wanted to make that you're her mom. If somebody's going to say her name, it's not going to be me. It's going to be you. Okay, so you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Does she? We have so much to talk about, but does she understand? And feel the love that she gets from everybody, and how special, not how special she is, how special her effect on other people is. Does she understand that?
I believe she knew it was going to happen, or it's
Right.
like she already knew her mission in this life. She knows the whole contract. She has all the memories of making the decision to become a world teacher. And really quickly, I'll just kind of say, I asked her one time, I said, "Why am I your mother? I'm like, how did I get blessed with a child like you?" And she said, "Well, we made the contract beforehand. You said you wanted a child either in this life. You said you wanted a child that was either disabled or a world teacher. And I decided to be both." And I said, "Wow." And then she said, and I said, "Is there anything else about that?" And she said she was the one that chose her disability, which is having a difficulty speaking. So she is a non-speaker. So if any of you have seen the telepathy tapes, she is like they are, where she spells to communicate. Although
She's nonverbal.
Yeah, but she has come along so much because, like I do with people with blindfold vision or Mindsight, I also help her progress beyond what people think people with autism can do. And so now she's able to communicate verbally in a lot of ways. And so sometimes when people see her, they think, how is she nonverbal? It's almost like
Right.
Yeah.
No, I can understand that. First off, she dresses like a friggin' rock star. Right. She's got
Yeah.
to look. She's got to look, man. She's got to look, and she carries that off. So yeah, I think she knows. She knows that not only is she special and unique because everybody is, right? We're all unique in our own ways, but she glows, right? She glows. She's got a thing, and she dresses like it. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah, a
She
lot
is
of
just,
people have told me that she does have this presence, and they are
mhm.
somehow affected by it afterwards. And yeah, I get a lot of stories about like, oh my goodness, when I talk to your daughter, and then afterwards I have these abilities now, or so that yeah, a lot of people are impressed by her presence. Some people are afraid to come up and talk to her, because they think, oh, she's the presence is so big. Um,
Right.
but yeah, she recognizes her mission very much, and she does have a like that funky or spunky personality too, and so she makes a lot of jokes, and she's
And
very
she's
playful.
stubborn. She's stubborn too. She holds her ground.
Yeah,
She
she definitely
holds her ground. Okay, you're right. We could talk about her all night, and we'll do that on another show. Though I would love
mhm,
to just, as a parent, just talk to you as a parent and focus on her. It was really funny because I want the audience to know I was on stage the entire time as the host, but I'm the one. I'm right there. I'm holding the microphone. I'm right there observing, and I was watching her, and there was a couple of moments with you and her where you said, let's do it this way. She's like, no, nope, nope, we're gonna do it my way. Well, but no, 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 we're gonna. And I was like, you know what? You go, and
yeah, and she was extra like that because we had been sitting there for a long time and we hadn't eaten or anything, and but yeah, she was still kept her quirkiness, and she's still able to perform. She's really good at being able to be in front of an audience and to perform, and it was like she was born to do that. So
Yeah,
so yeah, very
that
cool.
was a big crowd. That was a packed room, and I feed off of that. So, and it was focused on her. So, yeah, yeah, she's feeding off of that. It was a joy for me personally to be able to witness that. And like I said, we'll do a full show on Lidu. She's amazing. Let's get started here, though. Let me ask you. I'm going to ask you some basic questions. And we were talking. Well, we've talked a lot, but that when I was first introduced to Mindsight, and they were trying to explain to me what it was and what it is, and it right, it was like I didn't get it. So there's going to be a lot in our audience that are listening right now that are probably hearing about this for the very first time. So let's lay that out first. What is Mindsight?
I would just, in a nutshell, say that mindsight is the ability that we all have to see without our eyes. So we are able to distinguish things in a visual way without using our eyes at all. And you don't have to be sighted. You could be a blind person. You can pick up the sense or learn the sense. It is a sense you already have, though. It's more like you don't know how to use it, and it's just, but it doesn't take very long to turn it on and to use it. But yeah, so it in a nutshell, it is the ability to see without our eyes.
An easy thing to be a critic of, isn't it?
Yeah, especially because most people don't believe it's possible. So when a sighted person has a blindfold on and they are kind of seeing without their eyes, a lot of people might think, okay, they are cheating in some way. So when I was at the Psy Games, a lot of people were telling me you must have an implant. So this one guy was 100% sure I had an implant somewhere, and I either got it from Elon Musk or I got it from ETs. But he's like, look, if you just be honest about it. Like, if you have an
Right,
implant, just let us know. And
right, right,
so,
right, right.
yeah, or having I've heard it all. Like I have an earpiece or something, or I somehow memorized it beforehand. I'm in cahoots with the host, like I was in cahoots with you, and
Right.
yeah. So yeah, you hear that with a blind person because I have helped blind people to turn on their mind sight. And with them, it's more like, well, they're not really blind, or it's something like that. They're not really blind. I've actually helped a woman that had no eyes at all, and she was able to see for the first time. I've actually mostly worked with people who had never seen in their life. They were born blind, and they get to the point where they can actually read. And not very long either. They'll just work with me for a week, and they get to that point where they can read and they can tell things apart. And they're telling me their experience seeing for the first time. It's really amazing. But yeah,
Well,
like
I'm going to say a couple of things because I want to stay on subject here.
Mhm.
But I although I was the host, okay, I was in the position that nobody else had. I was on stage within inches of everything that was going on, all of the competitions, games, if you will. I was right there. I was walking across the stage. I watched everybody's progress, everybody of everything that we did. I was right there observing. And I'm telling you, I'm objective. I'm in the middle. I want to catch somebody cheating. I need to do that. Or I want to see something pretty spectacular. Okay. But I am there to have my mind blown, just like everybody else. I'm no different. And then Dalia walks out on the stage. And so I'm introducing everybody. All right. And I'm doing this in the interest of transparency for everybody. Everybody's coming out on stage. Most were nervous. A lot were shaking. They've never been in front of a big crowd like that before. And they're going to be tested in real time, right? And that's a lot of pressure. Not Dalia. Oh no. and I made that comment, didn't I? I said, man, you just came out pretty strong. And I think you said to me, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you sat down, and the first thing, we had done the first run of donuts with the individual competition, which was for everybody. I don't want to explain this or get too deep, but it's a child's toy with 16 pegs on it, 12 pegs of different colors. And then you have wooden donuts that are about this big of different colors. There's 4 of each. And then you place with the mask on, you're intuitively placing the donuts on the colored pegs that you can't see. Right. Okay. So we do the individual competition, but then we did the teams competition. And so you come out. So I got to see everybody do this in the independent. And I turn around. I turn around and I look, and you've got the first row in seconds. All 4 donuts of the same color were on the first row. And I looked, and I went, that's impossible, because I was watching everybody else, right? And then I watched you lay that out and get it done faster than somebody with their eyes open. So you do have it's fat. You don't have to have the delay of seeing it, thinking about it, putting it in your hand and placing it down. No, you already know. You're not using your eye. You know what I mean? There's not that delay. And bap, 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 and I looked, and you were done. You were done. That's when I hit the stage, I think. I think that's when I ploop, and I just, but that is an advantage, isn't it? You don't have to look and then respond. It's a total intuitive thing that is happening, isn't it?
Yeah, when you're doing it with touch, one of the first things I'm teaching, especially with blind people, is as soon as you touch it, you'll know what it is. You can do it. It feels like you're using visual. It feels like you're using sight, but you really can just know what it is as soon as you touch it.
Yeah.
It's like you'll know it in your mind's eye, and you'll know it in visual way. You'll know it just by touch. It's very interesting how it works. But what's interesting though is the other participants that went up for Mindsight, a couple of them I know can do it, but it does get affected if you are nervous, if you feel pressure. It can even be affected. The masks were, they did their job to make sure nobody was cheating or anything. So they made the mask extra tight. And as soon as I saw a couple of those people not being able to see, I remember thinking, okay, either the pressure got to them or the mask is very, very, very tight. But I knew I had already trained with a tight mask. And I already trained under pressure. So I remember when a couple people came down, they said, just a warning, the mask is super, super tight and my windows couldn't open. And I said, don't worry, I got it. I was just like, don't worry. I that's not going to be a problem for me. And
What's
so,
the difference between that Mindsight and the other things that we talk about, like telepathy or telekinesis or just intuition? What is the difference between seeing without eyes and the other things that are part of this community?
well, my daughter says that they're all kind of, how do you say it? One leads to the other. If you get one good at one, the other channels start opening up. They all kind of work together. But with Mindsight, the difference is it goes from being, so in the beginning when you're first learning it is kind of more intuition and it's mind's eye, but then you kind of train yourself so that as soon as you know what your body knows what it is and your mind's eye shows you what it is, then you start to see it visually. It's as if you're actually using your eyes. Um,
But
but
you were so fast. Okay. This is one of the things that my mind was blown for a lot of reasons. But one of the things that I personally experienced is I'm on stage with you. You've got the mask on. I'm holding the microphone to your mouth and I'm watching the colors flip. We did this thing with a long, you have to see it, everybody's like a tape measure, like a football field, like a piece of astroturf that went way out. And we were doing it certain feet back. And we had these large colored cards that were coming out at random. Right. So nobody knew and I didn't know. But I was watching the cards come out and I'm holding the microphone. I'm standing next to you. And you were saying the colors faster than I could see them. You didn't know that, right? You didn't, and I'm like, what? And I'm standing. How
yeah, a lot of that
that's
is
got to be
a lot
a
of it is
vibration thing. Yeah.
well, a lot of it is mental. As long as I don't know that, as long as I don't know, then it actually goes beyond what I expect. For example, I've been asked to see through curtains and stuff before, and I was able to do it because I didn't know it wasn't see through. If I don't know, I can just
Oh, I got you. Right.
yeah, if
Right.
I don't know, I am able to see through and I just assume it's sheer. And then when I take it off, I'm like, oh, wow, that was not sheer. And I've been asked to do that a couple times where someone put a cup and something's inside the cup and I will look and I will just assume it's see-through. But then if I take off the mask and try it, it's not see-through. But if I put on the mask and I know it's not see-through, I don't know if I could have done it still. So it's a
Wow.
lot of it is as long as I don't know the ability, it transcends very well.
Okay. We are at some point, everybody, we're gonna try to. We're gonna experiment. I have some random items off here in the studio that we're gonna see if we can do Mindsight here. Now, again, this is just totally random and everything else, but you've also, by saying that, gave me a couple of ideas that we can experiment. Just experiment. We don't
Okay.
know. We have no idea if this can happen, but you gave me a couple of ideas. Okay, so uh, the new TV show called The Institute talks about a lot of these things, and it's pretty cool. It hasn't ended yet. I think it's on episode 7. But one of the things they talk about, which Lidu mentioned, and you just mentioned, that certain things learn first and then lean into the next. They are dealing with telepathy, they're dealing with it, but the ultimate goal for them in this show was precog, PC. Have you had that experience? Any precog abilities?
I've had precog where it was spontaneous. So I haven't had it where, oh, I haven't even focused on trying to do it on purpose. With my daughter though, she just can do everything. And so her precog is really, really good. And so instead of kind of relying on my own, I've been kind of relying on hers. But
Mhm.
but like even let's see, even the side games. I remember when I first heard of the side games, I remember thinking, I wonder if we should go to that as a spectator. I wasn't thinking of going and performing. And so I said to Lidu, I said, what do you think, Lidu? Should I go? Should you go? Or should we both go? And then she tells me we're both going to, she says the teachers say, so she's talking about the angels or her team that talks to her. She goes, they say we're going to be there and we're going to be center stage. And I said, oh, we're going to be there. So, okay, then I guess I'll wait for the invite. And then about a month later, Hakeem asks me to, and he invites me to both contact and to the side games. And yes, I just remember thinking, wow, like as soon as Lidu says something's going to happen, I already know it. On the way to the side games, we were going to arrive in Charlotte at 6 a.m. and then we were going to take a connecting flight to Charlottesville like a half hour later, but our flight was delayed. And the next flight they put us on was at 8 p.m. So we would have been in Charlotte all day long and all of my plans would have fallen short. And so I said to Lidu, are we really going to have to do that 8 p.m. flight? And she goes, no, we're going to get there by noon. And then I said, oh, and I said, well, I don't see anything here. And she goes, wait till morning. And then I said, okay. And as soon as she said that, I felt better. I said, if Lidu says it, that's going to happen. And in the morning, once we landed, and I asked them, they said, yeah, we can. You just have to take 2 flights, but you can get there by noon. And so I was like, oh, thank goodness it exactly happened like she said. And then I remember her saying I was going to see some of my friends again in the winter. In this area, in the area we were at. Don't worry, you're going to see your friends again in the winter. And I said, okay, so I don't have any plans on coming back here, like around this area. And then at the end of the week, I did get an invite to come back there. And I was like, wow, like so when she tells me that stuff, I just know. I'm like, okay, well then good.
Now, how long have you been doing it?
So I've always practiced being able to tell things apart with energy and sensing for about 10 years or so. And I do a daily training on that. And I have practiced with the blindfold, but I never even thought about seeing with the blindfold in a visual way. I knew that there were kids in Indonesia that had done it. And I wondered how they did it. And I would love to have learned it. And I remember looking it up and everything I looked at said, you have to be a kid to even be taught. And I remember thinking, that's ridiculous. I said, there's no way that there's something that you could only learn as a kid and you can't do as an adult. I just do not believe that belief at all. I do not take to it. But so I tried it on my own. I remember wearing a blindfold for 6 months. And it was after I actually had a spiritual experience. There's a weird thing that happens with me sometimes where I sit up. And this is a precog thing, actually. I'll sit up and it's like I'm either in the future or another timeline. I don't know how to explain it because I don't really talk to many people about it. But there was one day I sat up and I was I knew I was in the future or another timeline. And I knew I was because my daughter was on the side of the bed with me, my younger daughter, 4-year-old. And I remember knowing that she didn't lay down with me. So I said, okay, I'm in another time. And I was also wearing a blindfold, which I didn't go to sleep with. And so I knew I was just in another time. And so I remember like looking around and I could see through that blindfold completely. I saw the whole room. And I remember knowing, okay, this is something I'm supposed to do because I had this experience. And then later in that day, I decided to meditate with my blindfold. And my 4-year-old gets in the bed and I remember thinking, oh, it's going to happen. I said, oh, it was just the same day. And so after my meditation, I sat up and I did see the entire room. And I remember thinking, okay, I need to master this. This is a sign. And so after that, I tried practicing again on my own. I couldn't figure it out. So I ended up going to a seminar in Canada with Rob Freeman and Wendy Galland, and they were, this was like their second seminar. And I remember going out there and having my blindfold on, and we sat in the sun. And as we did, all of a sudden I started seeing for the first time. I was seeing behind my head, and I just remember, and I was the first one to see. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I figured it out. I said, it's the sun that was missing. The whole time I was practicing, I had the blindfold on. I walked around for 6 months. It was great because I was seeing outlines. I was able to get around in the dark. My blindfold was pitch black for 6 months.
Oh, when was this?
Oh, this was last year.
This is pretty recent.
Yeah, and It's because it's one of those things. If you don't know you could do something, you don't even think about doing it. So you just don't access something we can do. And
Right.
so, yeah, I remember walking in the dark, loving it. I remember thinking, this is so cool. I never have to turn on any lights because I could see all the outlines of everything. I couldn't read, though. I couldn't see colors, but it looked like looking at a sonogram. It looked like an ultrasound or something. That's how the room looked. But so I did that for 6 months until I finally realized light is what activates it. And then once you get it activated with the light, you just have to keep progressing it and making it so you can see more and more. And the way I always do it is by giving myself more fine detail to look at and straining a little bit. And that way your brain makes it more efficient for you to see.
Right.
Eventually you start to be able to see more. Everything gets bigger and easier to see through. And so that's the gist of it. Before I actually went to that seminar, though, I did have a call with Rob Freeman. He was the one I put on the seminar with Wendy. And on that call, again, I had never even attempted to actually try to see things visually. And on the call, he had me blindfolded, and I didn't see any light or anything, but he was just showing me dice and different cards. And he was shocked because I picked it up really fast. I was seeing in my mind's eye, and I had never done it before because I'd never tried. So, and I was like, whoa, I'm actually seeing it in my mind's eye. And he was surprised. He's like, I was not expecting that. And that's when he kept saying, you really should come to this seminar. So so I surpassed what they expected too. And I went there not expecting anything. I'm like, we'll see what happens. I knew it was supposed to be important because I kept getting that calling. But I went there not expecting anything and surpassing everyone's expectations, and including.
What are you banned from casinos?
No,
I
nobody.
mean, I mean, you at a blackjack table. Whoo! I don't know. But, okay, you know what? That's a bad joke. It's not
I
even.
haven't tried it yet. I haven't tried it even with friends to do that.
Okay.
That would be
Well,
fun.
when you do, try it with me. I will bankroll it. I will bankroll that. But yeah, they're anyway. They're always looking for electronic devices or something like card counting, but they're not looking for this, and woo, man, that'd be a lot of fun. Okay.
I never understood why card counting was such a bad thing. It's such a good skill.
Yeah. It's a natural of everybody is card counting,
Mhm.
right? Oh, how many kings have come up? How many, you know what I mean? Everybody's doing that. And then there's card counting, of course, but why should that be illegal? And it's only one person. It's not like they're going to bring down the hotel, as a single, it just won't happen that way.
Mhm.
But how do you teach? I have, in a very simplistic way, what I would love for this audience to do is to listen to you, follow some advice, and go to a website and maybe check this out for themselves. I think that's most important. Because how do you teach? I have the mask, and the mask, so everybody understands, it is thick black plastic on the outer shell. That's what's there, real thick. It's like 1/8 of an inch over foam. So there isn't, that's it. There isn't anything. So I think a lot of people are intimidated by that because when you put them on, it's blackout. There
Mhm.
isn't, you're not looking through the, no, there's no question about, and that's very intimidating. So how do you start? What's the first level of teaching when somebody puts on the mask?
Well, what I personally do is I get people used to the mask being on and it being blackout. And I have them learning to distinguish things with just touch at first. And so we're not even worried about visual right now. So I might give them two colors, and without them seeing them and without me telling them what the colors are, I say, just touch these and tell me the difference between them. The papers will be identical, except for the dye will be different.
Mhm.
And there's really an infinite amount of ways for us to tell these apart. Our subconscious already knows what they are. Really quickly, they'll be able to tell me, like, for example, I'll give them a red and a green, but I won't tell them what it is. I'll say, what's the difference between these two? And they might say, I think this one's thicker and this one's thinner. And then I'll shuffle it around. I won't tell them if they're right or wrong. There is no right or wrong. Do it again. And they just keep doing that. They'll just say, this one's thicker, this one's thinner. I do that until it's consistent and they're actually tuning into something that's telling them that information. And then Once I know what is the thicker one and which one's the thinner one to them, then I will say, that's right, that's the red, that's right, that's the green. And so I'm just kind of letting them know the color without them actually having to worry about getting it right or wrong. And so we're doing that. And then eventually I'm just progressing it, making it more difficult. Then I get to the point where I say, now that you know what the color is and you're saying what it is, as soon as they get to a point where they touch it, they're like, yes, red, this is green, this is red. And so I say, now I want you to actually visualize it as much as you're holding it, always visualize what it is. Keep it in your head the whole time you're holding it. You do that about 50 times. As soon as they touch it, they will get the visual in their head. So that's
Wow.
the first exercise.
Why? Okay, so if you do that with a child, it seems that this is said so often, but I think there's some truth to this, that children don't necessarily have the adult mind blocks that we have, that you can't do this. So you know what I mean? As an adult, you have to unblock all that stuff that you've been told.
Very true.
A child doesn't have that. So it would seem, or less of it, it would seem that teaching a child would be a whole lot easier because they don't have to overcome a life of you can't do this, right?
Exactly. With a child, you really hit the nail on the head there. With a child, they will automatically know it. With an adult, they really could do it as fast as a child can. But an adult will have all these blocks, and it's really just the blocks that I'm getting rid of. Like the whole process we do, they don't really need the process. They have instant access to it. But because they are questioning and so what I'm offering the adults is a process that they can believe in. And then they get to the point of doing it. With the kid, all I have to do is say, hey, put on this blindfold. I want you to see this. That's all I have to do with a kid. And because I'm an adult and I'm an authority figure, they've seen me do it. They know they can do it. There's no questioning. I don't have to trick them in any way into having the experience. They just do it. So yes, at the Psy Games, I'm not sure who was supposed to teach the children. There was supposed to be a Mindsight play session.
There
And
was.
yeah, and I don't know who it was, but I got a call in the middle of a panel and said, hey, the teacher didn't show up. Can you do something last minute? And I was like, what?
No, I
And have you
remember that. I
Yeah,
remember
and I
that.
was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have anything prepared. I only have like 2 blindfolds. I have to borrow somebody's blindfold." And I brought a friend who also can do it. And she and I went over there and we taught 30 kids and all 30 kids opened up.
So
um
let me tell you what happened after that class. I had some parents come up to me with their son in the lobby, and they go, "It it works. He can do it." I said, "Really?" And they said, "Where can we get some goggles, or where can we get a mask?" I said, "Stay right here." And I walked up on stage. Right, I have my stash of the Mindsight mask, and I went out and I gifted it to him, and he was so happy. Just a little
Oh.
cruiser, man. He was probably 6 years old, 7 years old, and man, he had his mask, and he was, but they were so appreciative of what you did in that class. And that kid is on his way, man. Yeah, he went
Yeah,
home.
and
You know, that thing was on his lap the whole way home.
yeah, and kids that do this, they tend to have such a much more open mind, and they have a lot less resistance to learning and to doing new things. I remember I walked out of that room because I had something else I needed to do, and I remember I left my friend there if she could continue training them. And she said like some of the parents wanted to learn, and she said none of the parents were able to do it. Like not a single one. And so it was the children that were all able to really quickly. And they were so excited and so grateful. The children, I all week, the kids kept coming up to me and thanking me. It was so awesome.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. The first time that I saw it, which was in the film Superhuman. So I'm watching it in the film, and I remember I went, "Oh, I've got those. I've got that mask." So I went and got it. I'm watching the film, and I picked up a book. I put on the mask, and I pick up a book, and I can't see anything. And well, I knew that I couldn't see anything, but the point That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I couldn't see the book, right? And I really tried. I've got to go through the processes to do it. But what I did find out is that there's no way, I mean, proof to myself, there's no way to cheat the mask.
Mhm.
No. So if people are, the implant mention, right? Okay, that's a viable. If you're going to try to debunk this, what you're not going to debunk it is that there's a way to visually see through the mask. No, that's not there. Having a video camera somewhere, an earpiece, somebody okay, all right, it's a stretch. You're too fast with it, right? It's way too fast to have that happen. But if you're going to do it, yes, but it's not because you can see through the mask. No, that ain't happening.
Yeah. Like, I think even if you put, like, because some people say, oh, you can have a hole in the mask or something. And I think even if you did put a hole, I think it would be difficult to see.
No. Yeah, I know. People that suggest that have no clue what they're talking about. This is not that. It's not. It's not. I was, like I said, and we'll move on. But I was there seeing the speed and how it was being demonstrated faster than I could see it.
Yeah, and
So,
those masks, these weren't our masks. These were masks that they provided for us. They had them extra tight, and then I wore two different ones when I was up there because we did two different demonstrations or competition, I think. Yeah, we did two different ones, and I wore two different masks. I was just handed one, just quickly placed on me, and yeah, it doesn't matter what mask it is, and it doesn't have to be the mindfold. We can put on any mask, and we'll still see. People that can do this.
yeah, incredible. The ability to teach, it can be done online, right? It could be done in a Zoom call. But one of the things that I wanted to ask is there a psychic, intuitive connection between somebody? Do you have to have somebody hold up an object?
It is a lot better when it is in person, I think, and when someone is holding up the object for you, because when you hold up the object yourself, your mind is gonna, like, for example, I'm holding up a blindfold right here. If I put it right here, my mind is only gonna see it here. Whereas if someone could hold it here and you might see it here. And so your mind will limit you to where you're holding it. And you won't be able to see in other places if you're the one just doing it the whole time. Especially when you're opening. So it's always better to have someone else doing it in the beginning when you're still opening. But it is possible, though, to kind of make it so that you see in the front, but you'll be limited if you're the only one doing it.
Let me ask you about colors for a second. Are colors more vibrant in your mind's eye than when you see the object for real? Like if I hold up a yellow sheet of paper, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a different shade is it like some bright panchromatic crazy brightness? And then you take off the mask and it's like dull yellow. You know what I mean? What is it that you see?
Well, what's interesting is the colors can be a little off. So sometimes when your windows are first opening, you see the green and blue. They always look the same, and it's really hard to tell them apart. Or yellow or let me see, orange and red are hard to tell apart. For some reason they're kind of hard to tell apart at first, but then once you focus on it enough, you practice enough, it becomes easy. And then it does become better resolution. So whenever I have the mask on, things are in higher resolution, and when I take it off, it goes into a lower resolution, and it's the weirdest thing. And oftentimes it's like you think you know where they are, and you take off your mask and it's in a totally different place than where you were seeing it. So I did that a lot at the last seminar I was at, where I was training people, and there was a couple of people that were kind of skeptical about how to do it. So I purposely would place the colors in a very weird place that there's no ways their eyes could be seeing it. So they'd be facing this way, and I would place the color in a very weird place. And then once they'd done it about 4 or 5 times, I asked them to take off the mask and stay where you are. And I said, okay, now take a look at where you were looking. And they're always shocked. They're like, what the? And they'll be like over here or what, like 10
Well,
feet
we
behind
did that.
us.
We did that. That was one of the crazier things that happened, because I was standing with you on one side of the stage, and we had Hakeem and his assistant getting further and further away. They got so far away, you couldn't see this, you didn't know. But they got so far away and mixed into the back of the crowd that I didn't see them. Right. So I've got the microphone on you. You've got the mask on, and I'm like, where are they? They are on the other side of the ballroom, behind a crowd of people. I couldn't see them. And then when he whipped out the first card, no, he took out 2 at the same time. I didn't see it. You go whatever it was, red and yellow. And then I see him on the other side of the room with the red and yellow, which was, or whatever it was, whatever the 2 colors were. But I didn't see him until the colors were out. You said it before as the colors were coming out. That was insane to me. But I couldn't see it. I didn't have a mask on. Right. That was pretty nuts. That was
stuff like that is so interesting, because I don't know it until either I take off the mask or I'm told that it was an impossible thing for you to see. And but
we did that on stage. Were you surprised when I had you take off the mask and you saw, remember? And then he waved right from where he was on the other side. Were you surprised, or did you see the distance in your mind's eye?
Well, I knew that they were going farther away because I could just tell by the energy in the audience and everything. And
Right.
But yeah, I remember thinking, they could even go farther. They could turn off the lights. I could probably, I think it would be pretty easy, because even at Contact in the Desert, when I did the demo with my daughter, the lights were off.
I was there.
Yeah. Oh, you were there. Oh, great. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a dark room and the lights were off, and Captain Ron went all the way to the end. And so I also wore multiple layers. It was much more than just a mask. So I knew they could have even gone farther, Hakeem and them. But it was but I didn't expect them to put up the 2 colors like that. I'm like, oh, that's cute. They're trying to do that. That was awesome.
It was so, look, I'm sounding like a fanboy here, but I need everybody to understand. I was standing in between Dalia and those colors. Dalia's here. I'm holding the microphone out for her, and then off 50 yards that way, and I'm watching this happen. And for me to see it happen as quick as it did with the distance, I was having a problem understanding what was going on. You have a mask on. There's no way you could understand what was going on. And I saw it. It took me a minute to figure it out, but you had already when you said 2 colors, I got to tell you, my mind was trying to figure it out. It wasn't understanding. It wasn't computing.
What's interesting too,
It's pretty amazing to see.
Yeah, when I came down from the stage, a lot of people said that Phoenix was going crazy when you were up there. And I'm a little skeptical myself. I'm like, well, maybe it's because the crowd was so excited. I don't know. But they said that this Phoenix, that was the first time the Phoenix went off, and everyone was so excited. And what was really interesting to me though is several people throughout the day and the next day came up to me, and they said they followed along with me. They said, when I explained how the windows worked, how certain windows will open up and you can see through these certain windows, they said they closed their eyes and they followed along with me. And they said, it was about 10 people told me the same story. They said for the first time they were able to do it. They said with their eyes closed, they were able to follow all the colors at the same time as I did. And they were like, this is the first time I've ever experienced anything like that. And, the first person, I thought that's pretty incredible. But then when it got to the 10th person, I said, whoa, a huge transfer happened just from, I don't know what, from people knowing it's possible, from me just kind of hinting at what you can do. But a huge transfer happened. And I thought that was incredible. That was something I
Why
learned.
wouldn't the entire world, well, of course, I'm answering my own question, but all of the sightless people with those kinds of disabilities on this planet, it would change things. It would change.
Incredibly.
Why? What's it going to take to get the world to wake up to this?
Just them knowing that it's possible, more blind people coming out and it's talking about their point of view. I am actually focusing, I love working with all people, like everybody. But I am prioritizing the blind because they're just very motivated to just keep it going and keep practicing and go further and further and beyond just sight and using their psychic abilities. But and I would love to go more into like what the experiences has been with them. But yes, just more blind people coming out and expressing like, hey, like we can do this. And I even tell them, I'm like, we're just mimicking blindness when we put this on. We're just one
Right.
example. Let me just tell you something with the blind people. There's this one that I was working with, blind since birth. And I remember asking him when he came to work with me, he flew out for a week. And I said, what's your main goal here? He goes, I'm just going to leave this in your hands and let you take over. I'm not going to have any expectations. And I remember him casually mentioning, I truly believe one day I'll be able to read. And he made it sound like it's distant in the future. But by him saying that, I knew that's what he wants. He wants to be able to read. And I said, that's going to be the focus then. And by day 2, he was reading. It was very emotional. It was very emotional for him. And it was mind blowing. He kept saying like, I was told my whole life I would never be able to read fine print, and I believed them. And so it was such a big deal. And so he was feeling a bit sad that he's in his 40s and he had been blind his entire life. He's thinking, I could have done this as a child. I wish I had known. And my family's going to feel bad. They always feel bad with this kind of thing. They're going to wish they had known. And I said, I told him that story about, there's a story in the Bible where Jesus heals a blind man, and and so his disciples say, who sinned that this guy was born blind? Was it him? Like maybe in a previous life that he sinned, or did his family sin? And that's why he was born blind. And Jesus, no, he didn't sin at all. He was born blind so that he can show this miracle basically that he's about to do. He can make this miracle be made manifest, and the world's going to learn that this miracle is possible. And so he heals them. And I was telling this person that I worked with, I said, it's the same with you. People are going to know that even if you were born blind, and even if you're an adult, even if you've never seen light in a day in your life, you will be able to do this because of you. That's why you had to learn it now. And so, yeah, it's incredible. You can learn it as an adult, even if you were blind your entire life, even if you have no eyes at all. What was incredible about this man though is, a part of him, I could tell from his language, a part of him thought, because of my energy healing background, that he may have thought that he was using his eyes. Like he may have thought that I was healing his eyes and I was somehow helping his eyes to be able to perceive light.
Right.
And I told him, no, your eyes are still that way. And I said, watch, put on a blindfold. He puts on a blindfold and he's reading even faster now.
Yeah,
And
he's a blind man wearing a blindfold.
I laughed about it too. And
Yeah,
he
that's
was
great.
reading faster. He goes, wow, it's easier with the blindfold. And he said, because the blindfold creates this contrast and it makes it a little bit easier to see. And you're not having so much stuff around you kind of stimulating you. And so yeah, it was just incredible. And so that's my thing now. Whenever I work with a blind person, we do no blindfold at first. There's no point. And then afterwards, we put the blindfold on them just to make a point, just so they can see how incredible this is.
I lived in a neighborhood, I don't want to say where, but I lived in a neighborhood where they had an institute for the blind. Right? And one of the most fascinating things for me was to watch them with their sticks, right? And they're going out into the wild for the first time and they're being taught, how to cross streets, how to do this. Dogs were brought in, the whole thing. And it was wonderful to see that freedom for them and learning how to do that. And I loved every minute. I would talk to them and hang out, and it was just so cool because they were so happy. What a life-changing thing this would be if you could go to those institutes and at least try to introduce this to them.
Oh, I would love it.
It would be a game changer.
Yeah, especially like they're seeing light for the first time and seeing, and we'll talk about this some more, but seeing them react to how a sight works for the first time and the stuff that they say that we take for granted. Like for example, the blind man. I was sitting with him in the living room, and then he says, "Whoa!" All of a sudden, I see this rectangular thing in front of me over there, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's the TV that you're pointing to." He's like, "Wow, that's what it looks like." And so he gets up, and because we're gonna go practice somewhere else, and he gets up and walks by the TV, and he notices the TV. You know how in our perspective, when we walk, it seems like something's moving. He goes, "Whoa, it looked like the TV just moved." And I said, "Yeah, that's what happens with sight, with depth perception. It looks like it's moving when you're moving." And he's like, "That is so trippy." And
Wow,
and then the
man.
next and there was one day I came back, and he goes, "Dalia, all day I've been seeing this darkness in front of me. What is this?" And I said, "Oh, that's your shadow." He's like, "Oh, that's a shadow." And then all day long he kept on saying, "Oh, there it is again." And like the dark, he goes, "It's following me." I'm like, "Yes, that's your shadow." And so lots of stuff like that would happen. It was so fun to see.
I love it. Let's take our break right here. Dalia Burgoin is with us. Mindsight, sight without eyes. We are discussing all of this. When we come back after this short break, we're going to try some stuff live on the air, and we're going to see how this works out. You ready for this? Are you ready? Give me that strut. Let's go. Let's go. All right. We'll do it when we come back. Dalia, you stay right there. We're going to take a short break. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut.
Jimmy Church, Gaia TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dalia Burgoin is with us. Very excited about this show. She is absolutely amazing. And tonight we're talking about Mindsight, vision without eyes, seeing without eyes. And here we go. Now, Dalia, again, in the interest of transparency, I have a bunch of stuff that I have randomly selected. You have no idea what I think we're going to try to do. So I've got this over here. We're doing this via the internet. You can see my screen for now. But this is what we are going to do. Are you ready? Do you need any prep? Okay. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do 2 layers over her eyes. We're going to do Pirate's eye mask first. It's so cool. Okay, so those go on first, and then we're going to put the mask on over that.
That's what it looks like on the side.
Okay, so there you go. All right. Now, before I ask, can you see me? You can't. Okay, so we're gonna try this. We're gonna see if this works. This is everybody get ready. This is this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm gonna do something simple first. Okay. I'm going to hold up this. What color is it?
It's like a dull green. I don't know how to say that color. It's like teal, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It is a teal green piece of paper. Wow. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to hold this up. What color is this?
It's like blue and it has a stripe in the middle. I think it was a number 6. So
correct. Wow.
And it was a mug. It was a mug.
Okay. Is everybody picking up on the vibe now? All right. Do you see what's going on here? This is absolutely incredible. Okay. So now let's take it. I'm just going to do this in stages. Okay. I'm holding this up.
Okay. It's a cloth, a pink cloth.
That's nuts. Okay. Here's a trick. This is a trick. What is this?
What is that? A green cloth? A yellow? Dirty yellow?
It's what I polish my motorcycle with. That's right. It is covered in oil. Yeah. Wow. That's okay. Is everybody picking up what I'm putting down? I'm going to watch the chat. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to put up a comment. Can you read this comment?
Holy?
Yeah. Holy bleep. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's get a little more complex. All right. These are random. Again, totally random.
Your car's life insurance. Oh wait, it says this can contain your car's life insurance, Shell motor oil. Service Mack trucks, sales parts. Yes.
So much fun. All right.
That one says, put a tiger in your tank, SO performance motoring. That one's faster. Oh, wait, can I see it again? It's there's like a tiger on it or something.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
You can tell all of this came from my garage. I walked around my garage just grabbing random stuff. Is everybody picking up now what we are talking about? Now let's take it. I'm going into the random mode. I went into my library and I grabbed a bunch of random books. And some of these may be more difficult, even if, all right, so I'm just going to hold the books up.
Okay, that says it's by Kevin J. Anderson. It says Death warmed over the cases of Dan Shambles zombie PL. I can't tell what that is. PL. Oh, UFO Nexus, Anthony F. Sanchez.
This is insane. It's insane.
It says nothing in this book is true, but it's exactly how things are. Secret History Earth, Cab Activation, Breath Alchemy, Bob Frisell. I'm going to try it with another mask on too. Another one on top. Oh, let's see. Let's see.
Yeah.
See if I could do it.
Okay. This is going to be a little more difficult, but I want to test you.
This is kind of difficult for me too with the extra mask. UFO. Oh, dang. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, let me take this one off to make it a little harder to read. Okay. UFO drawings from the Cantonese world. And then there's Cantonese.
It's Chinese writing. Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. All right. Now let's do a double experiment. Okay. Let's try this once and we'll see if you can see through something. Okay. Okay, I have something underneath this cloth.
I am. Is it like a? I'm not sure. Is it a box? It's like a box.
Take your time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing it right now. I'm just kind of. Yeah, I'm not sure. What would that one be?
Well, this was a test. It was a roll of masking tape. Did you pick up on any of that?
No, just the color. Just the color. That's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did say box.
Mm-hmm.
You did say box. Okay, let's try it one more time with something else. Again, this is just totally random. But my hand might have been blocking it. Okay, so this time I'm holding it kind of out in front.
Yeah, I'm not seeing this one either. Is it gray?
Yep.
That it's it. I'm just getting the color.
A gray crystal.
Oh, okay. You know what? It was kind of appearing like a crystal elephant. I was thinking of an elephant almost, like the way it was laid out.
Wow. Okay, you can take the mask off.
Okay.
That's absolutely incredible to see. And I am fascinated with the colors aspect of this because
colors is always the first thing you see, and
right.
Usually when I practice through a curtain or something, it's always colors that I see. So yes, you're making me want to practice with shapes now through the thing. I can do shapes with a curtain if I'm like kind of holding the shapes in front of me. So I can do that. Right, so you're making me want to so definitely I'm going to practice with seeing what the object is now.
Well, because you got the colors spot on both times. So you're getting the vibration of the color because you said box with the masking tape, which is the color of a box. It's paper, right? It's masking tape. Fascinating. But you got the color of the crystal, which is a gray crystal. Not a white crystal. It was a gray crystal. And again, these are random things that I chose, but the color selection that you saw was not random. You hit it spot on both times. So colors is a pretty fascinating thing. It's the first thing that you feel.
Well, the first thing when you're teaching anyone, when you're teaching is it's to be able to distinguish between light and darkness. And so basically when you have the mind blindfold on, being able to tell if there's light on or not, and or if it's darkness. And then with a blind person, I have them in a dark room, and then I have them distinguish whether there is light in the room or not. And then after you can distinguish light, because that's light is what we need in order to distinguish colors, because colors are wavelengths of light. And so the very next thing you do is colors. And the way I teach that, let's say I'm doing it with a blind person. The first thing I do is the room dark or is it light? You know, we're activating their light sense. And I get to the point where they're really good, where they can't get it wrong. And that's what I always say. That's my motto is you don't do it until you get it. You do it until you can't get it wrong. And so and so we do that with light. And then once they're really good at light, and I mean really good, I mean, I could put the light anywhere and they're able to point to it. They're able to follow it, the light source. And the whole time I'm teaching them how light works, because they're surprised. They're like, wait a minute, I'm seeing it over there too. I'm like, yes, we're looking for the brightest spot. So the part with the most light. But anyway, after they're really good with light, then I start introducing colors. And the way I'll say it is it darkness? Is it white light, or is it different? So again, I'm not telling them the color because I don't want them to try and guess and do all of that stuff. I just want them to tell me, is it different than white light? Is it darkness, white light, or different? They will get really good more to the point where they can't get it wrong. And once I see that, then I start introducing what the color is. That's right. That's the red. That's right. That's the red. And so then I allow them to start saying it. Instead of saying different, they're saying white light, darkness, or it's red. Once they get really good with red, again, it doesn't take that long. Then I start introducing the next color and I'll say, is it white light, darkness, red, or is it different? And then they do the same thing. And that's how you introduce them to what these colors look like, because they have no background of what these colors actually look like. How do you describe a color without using a color word? And so that's the way we do it. So color is first. Once I know they're really, really good at colors, I start doing more fine details. But once I know they're good at colors, then I know they can read already. Because what I tell them, if I say, oh, you can read now, they'll get way in their head. So what I do is I say, hey, I'm going to hold a paper up. I want you to find the white. That's all you got to do is find the white. As soon as they find the white, I'll have a shape on that paper. And this is how I'm getting them into more fine details. I'll say, all right, now I want you to find the black that's on the white. Black is the same as darkness. You already know darkness. So find the black. And so at first, when they're looking at shapes, they're only going to see a tiny pinprick of the area. And it's the same with your blindfolded. You're only going to see a tiny part of the shape at first. And then I'm telling them all of these ways to just kind of follow it along, follow the shape, follow that little pinprick of area where you can see and follow it down. And eventually they can make out what the shape is by following it. And once they do that enough, the brain makes it more efficient, where it says, I'm going to make it more efficient so they don't have to follow it. I'm just going to show them more at once. And so they'll start to see the whole shape at once. Once they know shapes really well, they've seen what they look like. And again, I introduce it. I'm like, that's right. That's the square. That's right. That's this. Once they know shapes really well, then I'm going to introduce them to letters. And they'll get a little nervous at first, especially if they're blind. And I said, don't worry, letters are just shapes. I'm like, all you have to do is look at the shapes and describe them to me. And that's what they do. They'll describe it. And based on what they know, how letters should look like, what they've been told, they already realize, like, wait a minute, I know what these look like. Like, for example, they're like, wait a minute, I see a curve on the top. I see a curve on the side, curve on the bottom. I see whiteness on the right. It must be a C. You know, they'll say, and I'm like, that's right. And they'll be like, whoa, I just saw that. And so that's how it first starts out. Once they have like a few letters really consistent, then I put the letters on a document or a paper in front of them. I'll put them together, and then I have them read their first words. And it's always this emotional thing, and they're surprised. They're like, really? That's reading? So at first they'll even kind of like, no, that can't be reading. It can't be like that. And, you know, they're surprised. And then they'll even tell themselves, like the one person I worked with, he's like, there's no way around it. That was reading. Because at first he was trying to doubt it. It was the same thing. I'm like, it is the same. You're doing it without touching. You're doing it without smell, all this other stuff. You're doing it with just looking at it. And he's like, you're right. There's no way around it. It is reading.
Do you have to be facing the object?
No, because you can have windows in the back of your head. So the object in the beginning, it should still be facing the back of you. If we're using the back of the head, it should still be
Right.
facing the back of the head at first. And we could progress from there too. But at first, yes, you want to have it facing. So we have windows all over. I don't really know how this works, but I just know there's different places you can see from, not just the
This
front.
takes eyes on the back of your head to a whole nother level, doesn't it?
Yeah, and so I can easily, especially with blind people, because they're more quickly to accept it, and they're not just like, it has to be here to see. But because it's not practical to have them focus on the back of their head, I have them focus mostly in this area.
Right.
And so
Makes
whenever
sense.
a person is totally blind, they call themselves totals. When they're totally blind, I can have an object in front of them, and they will follow it and track it the same way we would, because I'm focusing on these windows here that look like it's around the eye area. What's interesting about working with blind people is there is this identity thing that comes up, and they start to get a little worried. Am I still blind? And I will say, well, yeah, you are. You're always going to be in that community. Your eyes still are not functioning the same, or you might not even have eyes. You don't even have eyes. Of
You
course, you
can't
still.
drive a car, right?
Yeah.
You're not.
Well,
You're,
I've heard that there are some who use Mindsight to drive. Like, I've heard that some blind people have driven in other countries, but I haven't seen it myself. I've seen blind people or blindfolded people drive. I've done it.
have you really?
Yeah. I don't do it in an illegal way, but yes. So I would
What?
love for I would love to just have like a time where a bunch of us just go karting with our blindfolds, or a totally blind person's go karting with us, and we're just having fun using the Mindsight to do it. So,
I might be able to make that arrangement. That sounds like, well, I mean, I would love to try it. I would love to try it. But staying with that for a second, if bad people would take advantage of this, you know what I mean? There's always that criminal element, or the military, or the CIA. How do we avoid that and keep this just for the good? You know what I mean?
yeah, and I like Hakeem Eisler. He's the one that put on the Side Games. I like his take on it, where he says it's about building a community. The more we have of us, the harder it is to just kind of weed special people out. And the more people awaken, the harder it is. So I like that he says it like that, like this community will do it. With me and my daughter, because I used to not want to be in the public for many reasons, but my daughter, she said we're supposed to be, and we are. And like she says, she's 100% protected by her team. And she says I'm not quite protected, but I can be protected by asking for it and stuff. But she says she is. That's all that matters to me. But yeah, I've had several strange people reach
Oh,
out.
they
And
were there. They were
yeah,
at the conference.
yeah,
And,
people reaching out and saying, "Hey, can you do this? Like, can you see inside of a safe? And can you get certain numbers?" And it's always about getting numbers that's behind something. And
yep.
the energy feels very weird. And I always want to make sure I'm on top of making sure I'm doing this for the grand scheme of things and for good. And I always check in with my daughter. A lot of people say, "Oh, protect your energy, protect this." I'm like, I'm fine. I have like the most psychic person in the world with me, and she can see intents and stuff, and I can always just ask her if I have to. And if I'm ever going off the path, she will tell me. Like, she has told me a couple times, "Don't do this." Like, and normally she doesn't, because it's really hard for her to initiate conversation, but she will if she sees I'm about to go off the path. And so I have no worries, because it is our life calling, and she's very much made that obvious to me. And
there were a few people running around that conference that were feds, and we were talking. We were pointing. That's questionable. Look at that over there. And I found that. But here's my take on that. I can't be angry. There's no reason to be angry. If they're not doing their job, they wouldn't be there. Right? If they're doing their job and looking into this, there's a certain comfort that I have with that. that they are wondering about this and that they are checking it out. I feel better about that than them not being there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have a friend who also has these incredible abilities, and he actually received a mess like a package from the feds, asking if he could do certain things, if he can just kind of show them, and then he just kind of threw the package away. He got scared, and then he hid from the public for years because of it. so,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, some people can get that fear, but I never really had the fear. It was more like I'm just not comfortable being out there, but now I know I'm supposed to, and I feel totally open to it because I know I'm supposed to. And my daughter says, we are all going to evolve. People are going to look back and say, "What? I can't believe people didn't believe telepathy was real." It's so funny that people didn't believe it, and people are going to think that we need our eyes to see. They're not going to realize that we have whatever sense this is that we're tapping into, and we're
Right.
able to see much more. So it's so incredible seeing this paradigm opening up. My daughter and I are part of a lot of scientific studies because we want to figure out what's going on, and we want to do whatever it takes for the people
Well,
to
what do you
accept
let me ask you that. What do you think is going on?
it. I think we are entering into a new stage where we are going to evolve humanity. And I think a lot more gifts are becoming open and accepted right now, and they never were before. And a lot of people have never even seen this stuff before. And this is just, it's mind blowing. People have been in the field all of their lives for 50 years or so, have never seen it. And now it's just coming out. And I think it is a timing thing. And there was a time that it was supposed to come out. And yeah, it doesn't take very much. Like to me, the scientific science is what the world speaks. That's the language the world speaks, and that's the only way they will believe something. The majority of the world, you explain it in any other way, they're just going to discount it. So my daughter and me are like, yeah, we'll go through science if that's what they need. It doesn't take very much. It's not like they're trying to debunk. They just are testing, and the tests are super easy. so, like,
And
what
what do
my
we
daughter. How was
well,
it?
what do we do? There's going to be those out there, the fundamental religious uh community that are going to step back and go, this is black magic, voodoo, this is the devil, right?
I
Where
haven't run into that at all.
no, that's because it's not out there yet, but once it does, you are dealing with people that have fundamentally been taught and been raised in a certain belief system, and then you pull in something like this, which appears to be supernatural and paranormal and all of that, when it's not, it's just taking advantage of our own senses that we have in our body. It's not something else, but there is going to be that kind of fundamental pushback, I would say. That yeah, for
So I
sure.
actually think because we're going through the science route first, because the most skeptics I come across are scientists. Like that's where we're starting. That's where we're having it. But once the scientific community kind of says, "Hey, this stuff is real," I think the religious groups are also going to kind of accept it because it's like science, the truth, like it's like that's where people's faith really is in science.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
even religious people be like, oh, if science says it's real, then it's real. It's not like the devil or something, like so I think that's maybe why we're going in this direction.
Somebody with your abilities back in the 1600s and the witch hunts, right? And, the Salem, uh, just think about that. I mean, they would have chased you down in the streets because of
Yeah.
this,
Depending
because they
on which
don't
groups it
understand.
is, but yeah, because
Yeah,
I know, like, there are some groups that totally accepted it, like the mystics, like the Catholic mystics,
for
that
sure.
those groups, they had all of these abilities, like, a lot of the abilities that Lidu has, and, even the vision without eyes, there's a lot of saints that had it, that they accepted, and so, but yeah, there are gonna be the groups, I always see it's just like different backgrounds. There's always going to be a threshold of what people are willing to believe.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what your background is. You could be an atheist, you could be you could be a scientist, or you could be very religious. There's going to be a threshold where someone says, "Here's evidence," and you're going to say, "I don't even need to look at the evidence. It's ridiculous." Um, and so everyone has that threshold. And it's like, but once it starts getting around, like those thresholds will be broken. And
How many of you are there with the abilities at the level that you have right now?
I think there's a lot out there, but no one's really come forward. Because I was tested by this one group, and they said that I was the best they had seen. They said,
Right.
me and a friend of mine who has been doing it with me, they said we were the best they had ever seen in the whole world. And I remember thinking that can't be true, because I feel like I'm nowhere near where I could be. I don't train enough, and I could do so much more. I can train people so much more than this. So I just think that there's just not that many, but I have worked with a lot of people. I've helped people open. Some people lose it after they open because they don't want to keep it open. Um, but I would say there's probably thousands out there that are just not out in the public.
Now, I'm going to use a couple of bad words. Can I use some bad words? We're all adults here, right?
I'm totally good with bad words.
Okay. You're married.
Yes.
Your husband doesn't get away with shit. And he knows it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's true.
Ah,
But it's okay because especially, oh my gosh, with it's like, yeah, he doesn't get away with stuff, but it's okay because we're okay. We see the big picture. If he makes dumb decisions, we see why he makes dumb decisions. Especially with my daughter, she and I both, like my husband and I both, have to just accept or I have accepted. He hasn't really, but I've accepted that she sees everything. So I'm okay. But
right.
he hasn't. He actually says, like, look, how do I turn it off? Like, how do I turn it off? So I don't want people reading my mind. So
He tiptoes. He tiptoes, man. He's a tiptoer. But that's good. That's good. That's good.
yeah,
That's good
what's
to hear.
really interesting too is he was the biggest skeptic on the planet. He just thought all of this was crazy. He thought everyone that does this was just scamming people. But then when I opened, he's like, okay, I know you wouldn't lie to me. And he's like, I know if you were to scam, you would let me in on the scam. and he's just like, well, my whole paradigm has shifted. I don't even know what to think anymore. Everyone I thought was a scammer was probably doing it for real. So he's just like, and then when my daughter came out, it took him forever to actually to see her abilities because it was just so crazy to him. It wasn't until we had gone to Contact in the Desert that he finally asked her. I know we're not supposed to talk to my daughter as much and focus on Mindsight, but I just got to say, like, he was such a skeptic, and he didn't want to look at it. But she had been doing this for a while, and so finally he says, "All right, Lidu, show me something. I like, just show me what you can do." And then he says, "Tell me about a memory that I just don't remember, from my childhood that nobody knows about." And she tells him this memory. I'll just tell you really quick. She said, there was a time that you had a turtle and you accidentally killed it. And he's like, oh, and he's like, how? And then she tells him these details that he wanted to give it a bath. He was living in Mexico and the water was 120 degrees. He put it in a plastic bottle cap. And she even said the color of the bottle cap. I don't remember what the color was. And he was just blown away because she said details that he totally forgot about. And he goes, okay, this stuff is real.
But that's what I'm talking about, right?
Mhm.
You can't get away with anything. Now you have to tiptoe. Let's go back to Lidu for a second. Again, in the interest of transparency, I want everybody to understand exactly what I am saying. I am hosting, I'm on stage. I've got Dalia there. I've got Lidu, and we pull up a random audience member on stage to assist me on stage. And all of this is improvised and off the cuff. This was not rehearsed, and nobody knew what we were doing. I'm saying that in a funny sense too, as well, in that I wanted to make sure that because this is going to be videotaped, people are going to see this in the future. They need to understand how random this was, that this was not rehearsed. And we did a couple of questions that we wrote down on these cards. And one of the questions was mine. Okay. And it was random. And it was written down. The other question was from the lady that we brought up on stage. That was her question. And I know the question. Lidu doesn't see, only I, and then you see it, right? Okay. Lidu doesn't, and that's it. Nobody knows what is written on this piece of paper. And I watch Lidu type out the answer in front of me. In front of me. And I'm standing in back of her, and I'm watching. You know where I was standing. I'm watching her on the letterboard, and it doesn't matter what the question, but I wanted the question to be simple, but way out, like just like, some crazy thing. And she nailed it. And I'm watching it, and I got to tell you, I got a lump in my throat. I was standing there emotionally. I got very twisted up, and I didn't understand. And I've listened to the telepathy tapes, and I know I'm an expert at this. I do this show. Dalia, this is for somebody like me in my position. What's going to shock me, right? What's going to move me? That moved me. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what I witnessed.
Yeah, the answer. So the first thing they write down the question, and I go to Lidu. I'm like, Lidu, you got the question? She says, yeah. I'm like, okay, what's the answer? She spells out yellow, and then I said, okay, great. So the answer's yellow, and then and we.
Oh, that was my question, right?
Yeah.
What color is the sun?
Yeah, and then when we reveal it to the audience, it's what color is the sun, and she spelled it really, really fast. Like it was like super easy for her.
When she hit the Y, and I'm standing, I was like, no way. And it happened so fast, right? It just happened so fast. And it was written. That's right. You're right. It was, what is the color of the sun?
And the next question was the audience member, and she said, and the answer was TWO. And then when we found out what the question was, it was how many wheels are on a bicycle? Or how many wheels does a bicycle have? Something like that.
Yeah. That's what it was. Oh man, it was so much fun for me to go through that. When you see things, and I don't care if it's like Ghost Adventures or it's this, or you're watching something on TV or the film Superhuman. All of us need to approach this from a position of being objective. Don't jump into the deep end of the pool. You'll lose your mind if you do that. Don't do that. But don't also call bullshit because you don't know. But you're also watching it, right? So yeah, there could be some trickery that's done. This was live in front of an audience, and I was the host. That's it. It's not an ego thing. It was my mind was blown. And emotionally, because it was a mother-daughter thing going on, and her and as a parent, yeah, it was very emotional. It was amazing. It was amazing to see.
Yeah, I was really happy because we were so low on time that Hakeem said, oh, we only had 5 minutes to be up there. And I'm like, 5 minutes for Lidu? Are you serious? And so the first thing that we did was we had a picture card that someone in the audience picked out. And this time the whole audience did see the card, but Lidu was looking away. She was blindfolded. And then he took it away. We took off the blindfold and had Lidu describe the card. It was fish. She said fish on water, I think she said.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And then then at the very top, there was a writing on there, and it said letting go, and Lidu spelled out what was on top of the card. And then it was after that, that's when you said, we need to see this again. And I was so grateful because I was like, just 5 minutes? Are you serious? One demonstration? And
right.
These people are going to want to see more. And I'm so happy that you said that. And then we were able to go back up, and that's when we did the questions part.
Yeah, that fish water thing was pretty crazy. Not only the demonstration and getting it right, but it was very tricky because the water was on top, the fish were underneath, and then the words were above the water on this card. And you're right, the audience got to see that. Lidu was just doing her thing, right? Doing her thing, and to watch, that was the audience got a taste of it. The audience got to see that. This is all in real time, everybody. This wasn't, we were winging it. All right. We were up there, you and I, and Hakeem and Lidu. We were up there just having fun, and the audience got to see. It got really loud in there, didn't it? Because to see something like this go down, I don't think people were really expecting that kind of reveal, right? It
Yeah.
messes with you.
Yeah, when Lidu, like when she's on stage and she does her thing, people are so mind blown by what they're seeing. They usually go quiet. When they see the blindfold stuff, they usually like, whoa, they get excited. But when they see Lidu, they're like, what did I just witness? I didn't even know this was a possibility. And people end up crying. A lot of Lidu has made so many scientists cry. It's not even funny.
Oh, I held back tears. And here's the thing. I haven't seen the video of any of it. I haven't seen it, but I can only imagine the look on my face, which was the same as everybody else. Because it was going on and going on and going on. It was wonderful to see. But you're right. Emotionally, I was wrecked at a couple of points. I was just wrecked. It was joy, and everybody was doing that at the same time here. But the other part of it, where I brought up agencies, and bad people. Well, there's good people in agencies. I don't want to put a label on everybody, but remote viewing is another part of this component and was a big part of the Psy games. What is similar and different from what you do to remote viewing? There are connections and overlap, but could you apply your abilities to remote viewing?
It's interesting because I don't focus enough on remote viewing, but whenever I have done it, probably done it 3 times with a remote viewer teaching me. And each time I saw very clearly. It wasn't just parts of the target, it was the whole thing. I remember seeing it very well and thinking, it would be really nice to focus on this, but I haven't been focusing on it. But I remember the first time I did remote viewing, I remember feeling like I was on a boat. I could feel it. I could smell the ocean air. I heard and saw the gulls in the air, and I saw the water moving really, really fast. And I remember thinking, okay, they say not to label it, so I'm just going to put water and outside and stuff like that. But then when I saw the actual image, I remember it was a little jarring at first because I thought, well, this can't be the same, but because it was a boat in the water and there was like the air, everything was similar. But I remember thinking, well, it's not the same because what I saw was moving. And I said, I was seeing a movie, and I'm like, wait a minute, of course they were going to show me an image. Of course it's not going to be moving. And I said, and I thought it was so weird how what I actually saw was different. What I saw was like, I was there. That was my first experience. And then I had a couple more and it was just like that. But the difference, I think, with remote viewing and Mindsight is Mindsight feels like it's in real time. It's right here. It's in the present. Remote viewing, it always feels like you could just go to any time, future, past, and I'm sure they overlap in a way. But that's what the difference is. It feels like I'm going somewhere with remote viewing, and with Mindsight, it feels like I'm right here in the present.
How Lido must be learning. How is she learning from this? I have my brother. Okay, I don't want to get into specifics, but he has a nonverbal son, and who is now 2 going on 3 years old. And I haven't, after the telepathy tapes, I was going to call him and his wife and go, okay, you've got to check this out. And I was tempted to quiz him. I want your advice on this. Okay. I was going to go, hey man, has anything ever happened? Anything strange, right? Anything going on, any communication, anything weird. And I thought about that and I didn't do it. And the reason why I didn't do it, I didn't know if they could handle it. Number one. Number two, if they could understand it. Let's say they handle the idea, but can they understand it? And then bringing their son into the picture, how do we approach this? And so now that you have done what you have done with Lidu, my question is, how has she learned and benefit and grown from this?
Yeah, parents are going to underestimate their kid. Even when you bring up telepathy with them and their kid is totally telepathic, they're going to not think that their kid could even understand them half the time. And so, yeah, you are right to be a little cautious, because a lot of people, parents will think, oh, my kid does not understand me. They can't focus. They don't pay attention. That's not true. They just don't show it the way. I feel like I was the one that learned. It feels like Lidu already knew all of this stuff. The only thing is it's about building up her ability to communicate with us. And so that's what we do, is I help her progress her ability to communicate. And so we've gone from the letterboard to her being able to be independent, to her even now being able to say a lot of phrases and words. And so so with Lidu, it's more about her being able to function in this reality. But the other reality, it's totally, she's got total, I learned so much from her. One of the things that Lidu has told me, because she has all of these abilities in the other realms and stuff, and incredible things, but what she told me is how much we have that she doesn't have, that is incredible. Like, for example, we have this concept of being able to tell time, and she thinks it's an incredible skill that we have that she's very weak at, and so she relies on me for it. That's just one example. Like, if I told Lidu, meet me in 5 minutes, 5 minutes could be like 10 days for her. Like, you know, she cannot tell the difference between time at all. And so she uses me for that. She uses me for grounding. So you'll notice if I'm ever with her, I'm touching her. That helps her to remember, that helps her to feel sensation in her body, and it helps her to be more in her body. Or I'm walking with her, I'm always got her arm on mine. And so she sees a lot of value in what we're able, in our senses and our abilities. And she's learning what, I guess what she's been able to do is she's been able to communicate with us. And that's a huge gift to her, because she's always wanted to be able to communicate in a way that we will understand, not just with telepaths, but with us, because she's always had friends on the hill, and like she's always been able to.
That was my next. See, you have telepathy. You have that was my next question. That was my next question. And I was visualizing, I always visualize this hill. And I was visualizing what the hill represents to me. Okay. Does she visit the hill?
Yes. And so her whole life, I was a little sad, because I thought, you know, she's such a bubbly, cute personality, but she has no friends, you know, she can't.
We need to explain. Hold on. Nobody knows what we're talking about unless they listen to what is the hill? So
the hill is this ethereal place that a bunch of people who are telepathic and other beings and entities can frequent regularly. And so Lidu told me, this is before I even knew anything about the hill, before the telepathy tapes came out.
It's like a hangout spot.
Yeah. So she told me every day of her life, she would go to this place where she had mentors and they would teach her, and she had friends there. This is when she started to communicate. Before that, I had no idea. I just thought she had no friends, and it made me very sad. And but she said no. And then she was telling me about some of the friends that she saw there, some of the people that I know in person, because they're non-speakers, or they're autistic. And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole time she did have support and she did have friends. But now, like she said, it is her dream. She said it was one of her personal dreams, to be able to have a verbal conversation with people in this dimension. And now she's getting there, and she knows she's going to get there. But it's really hard because Lidu and a lot of them, their ego is nowhere near like ours, where it's really hard to even get to their ego. And so, so every time I ask her what she wants, she's always saying some grand, wonderful thing. I just want to spread the teacher's teachings and the messages. And I'm like, yes, Lidu. Okay, my 14-year-old daughter, the part of you that's my 14-year-old daughter, what does she want? And I'm always having to do that. And then she'll say something like, I want to have a conversation with someone verbally. And she is so close to doing that. There's sometimes people don't even realize that she's a non-speaker. Like some people have even
tried. She tried on stage a few times.
Yeah, she actually has been able to do that. But that day she was really tired, and
No, she
hungry.
tried. She tried. She tried.
Yeah, when I gave her the mic, she just tried and it just was not
She
happening. And
wanted
I
to.
just let
So
her
yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah.
just let
She
her
wanted.
spell it out, and she spelled it really, really fast. Like, and I think she said she's so happy that Hakeem invited us, and something like that. She said, and the audience got all emotional.
When the hill was brought up, um, let's stay focused on that for a second if we can. When it was brought up in the telepathy tapes, it was pretty remarkable. And the telepathy tapes, I went and watched all the video stuff too as well. You know, I signed up for that and subscribed. But when you're listening to the telepathy tapes, it's theater of the mind, right? Most people are, well, me, I was listening to it in the dark, right? I'm in bed, right? Like this, listening to it. So it's the theater, you're building it up. And so when the description of the hill came up, you know, I'm in the dark, man. You know, and I'm painting this movie, this cinematic thing of what I thought the hill would be like. I was trying to use my imagination to picture what somebody that's nonverbal with telepathy is seeing and visiting, right? Did Lidu call it the hill too as well? And was her description of it similar to what was in the telepathy tapes?
Oh, her description is very similar. But she never called it the hill. She would always say this place that she would go to. And then one time I had an interview, or, you know, not an interview, but like a talk. It was just a talk with someone, a friend. And she had listened to the parts of the tapes where they mentioned the hill. And I hadn't heard it yet. And so she goes to Lidu and she says, "Hey, Lidu, do you know about the hill?" And I have no idea what the hill is at this point. I don't know. I didn't know it was the same place that Lidu visits. And Lidu goes, "Yes, the hill is a very real place that I often frequent." That's how she said it. And I'm like, "Well, Lidu, what are you talking about? What's this hill?" And then she said, "It's that place." And then she described it to me like, "Oh, so that place you always go to. Okay, I got it." And then after that, I started calling it that. And then I heard the tapes. I was like, "Oh, so that's why people are using that word, the hill." But yes, so Lidu, her whole life, whenever it's getting kind of dark and people are winding down, like the world is winding down, she would always go and she would pace back and forth for hours, and you could tell she's doing something, and I never knew what she was doing. And so finally I asked her, and she said that's when she was going to this place with her mentors and her friends. And so she does it every night, no matter, even when we travel. I remember we were at Contact in a desert, and you know, I'm so used to her going to the hill and stuff. And we didn't have a place for her to really like pace, but we had that balcony. We had a balcony there at the hotel. And so she would just go on a balcony, and it always looked like she was just talking to her friends on the phone. Like she's just walking back and forth talking. And but that's how she does it. She does a meditative walk that takes her there, because Lita, she doesn't have to meditate, like lay down and get quiet and none of that stuff. She can go in real time and go to this place. What's interesting is I met a woman who she said she was talking to me, and she said, "Hey, can I talk to your daughter for a second?" So I bring Lita. She's never met Lita before. And she says to her, she goes, "Hi, Lidu." She goes, "Do you recognize me?" And Lidu says, "Yes." And then she goes, "How do you recognize me?" And then Lidu says, "You were teaching at the Hill." And I was like, "What the?" And I've never heard of someone who wasn't autistic being at the Hill. And then the woman says, "And what was I teaching?" And I was like, "What is going on here?" And then I don't remember what the Lidu said, but the woman ended up responding, "Yes, I was teaching a song." And then she says to Lidu, "Can you sing the song?" And Lidu starts singing something. And she goes, "Yes, that is what it sounds like." And then she says, and today,
Holy shit!
I know. And then
Yeah, what goes through your mind
oh, I
when?
was just like, "What is going on here?" And then the woman says,
Right,
"Can you
right.
say the name of the song?" And then Lita described what it was about. She goes, "It was about this." And the woman says, "Yes, that is what the song was about." And then so I said to the woman, I said, "I never met someone who wasn't autistic that they went to the Hill." And she goes, or I said, "I never met a neurotypical." I think I said it like that. She goes, "Well, I don't know how neurotypical I am." And that was her response. So I'm like, okay. But Lita says that we all can do it, and I believe her. She says I just have to up my telepathy, and I can. But what's interesting is after the side games on the flight back, I said, "You know what, Lidu? We're always doing the telepathy where I'm sending you the message. Why don't you send me the message and I
Mhm.
spell it out?" And on the plane, I did like 5 in a row. And then I stopped. I said, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then last night, ever since then, I hadn't done it again. And last night I did it again. I said, Lidu, let's try this again. You send it to me. And at first I'm just spelling. I'm like, I can't believe I'm spelling them. I'm like, she keeps telling me I'm doing it. Yes. I'm like, you know what? Lidu, spell the word out first and hide the word from me. And then have me, and then send me the message. And I just remember she does it. She writes down a word. I have my eyes like I'm looking away. She hides the paper, and then she gives me the letterboard, and I start spelling. I said, "Is it cake?" And and she goes, "Yes." And I'm like, "Let me see the paper." And I'm like, "Holy!" I was just like, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And we did like 20 in a row. And then at first I was spelling it like her. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't need to spell. I'm not a non-speaker. I could just say it. And then it was a little bit harder at first. But I realized like I could just say it. I don't have to spell it out. So I think I'm getting it. I think I'm picking up how to do it. So it's
Can
very exciting.
she okay? That is cool and scary at the same time.
Hmm.
Can she do it with anybody?
You
Does it
have
have to be you?
telepathy.
Could she
You
could she
have telepathy because I was just about to say that.
Okay.
So one of the researchers on one of the experiments we were doing, she was reading my mind the whole time in different ways, like incredible ways. And so finally at the end, he goes, Lidu, he had the feeling to ask her. I think she told him it was okay. And he goes, Lidu, can you read my mind? And then she says, yes. And I said, why don't you try it with you holding letterboard? And so he spells the word sky and then he shows it to the camera. And he was the only one that saw it. Like none of us knew what the word was. And then Lidu, he's like shaking and he's holding the word and Lidu spells it. And he just like, he starts crying and he's like,
Right.
and he's like, oh my gosh. He actually said, I'm a religious man and I don't even know what to think. I'm having a judgment of faith. And then Lidu explains it to him in the most perfect way that he doesn't have to give up his faith. Like this goes with the
Well,
faith.
it goes back to my point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The religion
Yeah, and
side
she
will.
tells him, like, "You don't have to do that." Like,
Mhm.
most of these kids are religious. Like, and so he started crying. But what was incredible is afterwards, he reached out to me and said, ever since she read his mind, he's been able to do telepathy. He said with one of his friends, he's been able to do it. And
Mm.
so I'm like, what it reminds me of when I was on stage and people picked it up. And so I think there's something like that. Like we're picking it up through osmosis or something. But
Well, that brings up the question, for example, when we were on stage and we wrote out the questions on those cards, is it possible that because I'm assuming it's a trilateral agreement that's going on here, right? We write it out, you're with your daughter, and you know what I mean? And there's this connection. But what if she already knew the answer
oh,
as we wrote it out on the card that you're not even in the play?
I think so. In
Yeah.
fact, you know what was weird also? And I didn't say this, but when the woman, you two came up with the question, and the whole rule was, I want it to be as easy as possible for Lidu. I don't want her to have to do anything she hasn't done before. I need to know it so she can read my mind. But I remember when you wrote the question, I already knew the question. Like before I saw it, before you
It
showed it,
was
I knew
fast.
it.
It was fast. Yeah, yeah. No, you're
It's
right.
like I
You're
was
right.
like, I know the question already. Before you even have to, and I was about to just go sit down, but you still showed it to me, and I was like, I didn't even need to see it. I knew the question, and so I remember being shocked by that. I was like, whoa, I know the question. So,
It was so fast.
mhm.
It was so fast. It was very impressive. Well, it was, it's like faster than the speed of light. All of this is going down in the speed of now. It was I gotta thank you for I know that I did in person privately, but I'll say it right now in front of everybody. Just thank you for allowing me to be a part of that and a participant of it and hanging out with you and your daughter on stage and watching this. It was just an honor and a privilege to be there. So just thank you for letting me do it and play my little small part. I did write Hakeem after that. He had written me and stuff, but I just, man, thank you for letting me just do my little small contribution to all of this, because it was so much fun to do that and to be there. So just thank you for letting me into your world.
Absolutely. And I already said it earlier, but I really appreciate a lot about you, but I appreciate you speaking up and saying, "Hey, we need to see more of this." I think it was very important that the audience saw more, and they saw what was possible with telepathy. And so I really like that's the part I was so grateful. I was like, like this is bigger than the Psy games and our time stuff. Like they need to see this, and even though like I knew Lita was tired, she knew that they needed to see it. So I was very grateful that I don't know, maybe you picked it up telepathically that everyone needed to see more. And even though like the timing was so bad and everything, like you were like, you know what, we need to see more of this. And you were so reverent as you said it. It was such a serious moment for you.
It was I was on stage for like 12 hours, right? You saw
Yeah,
that, right?
it was so long.
But the energy that was there, kept me going. I got to tell you, when we pulled the plug each night at 8, 9 o'clock, yeah, the adrenaline, I was done. I was toast. But it was witnessing all of this. The energy that was there was incredible. But here's the thing. You bring up a really good point. The reason why, I have lots of reasons, but one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated with this is, here's a perfect example. And so many people ignore this. Right before the Psy games, it was after the show, and I'm watching a TV series or a movie. It doesn't matter. I'm watching something, eating. But there was a father and daughter moment on the TV. All right. I went, oh man, I haven't told my daughter I loved her lately or today, whatever. And I picked up my phone to text her. Right. And I pick up my phone, I open it up, I'm on our page. And as I'm getting ready to text, she's texting, Daddy, I love you.
Wow.
Now, we need to stop and examine what just happened here. Right. So many will just dismiss that as coincidence. I say, not so fast. Not so fast. We were connected at that moment. I was thinking about her. Maybe she was thinking about me, and it popped in my head. I thought it was the TV and this, but none of that matters. What matters is I picked up my phone to text her, and she was already texting me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's people need to, you can't dismiss that stuff, Dalia. You can't. And so many people do.
Yeah. So many people say it's coincidence. You're only focusing on the one time, but it's it's trainable, and people like Lidu can show 100% of the time. Even I can show it now. I mean, I'm a little scared to put that out there because I haven't practiced it. I've only done it twice, 2 days, but even now I'm convinced that I could do it too. I don't know how she does it, but but it's just like, it's incredible. And if I could do it, I think anybody can do it. I know people think I'm somehow different than they are because of this ability that I'm showing, but I feel very much the same as everyone else. And because I know it's trainable, and I know we all have this capability. So Lidu says it too. It doesn't matter if you're neurotypical or if you have autism, it does not matter. You can all do it. In fact, she says that she doesn't call herself a telepath because she says we're all telepaths. She calls herself an eavesdropper because she says that's what they do. The ones that are using their telepathy, she calls them eavesdroppers. So there's a difference.
We've got the links up for visionwithouteyes.com. That's up in the chat. Everybody go and visit that. It's also in the description below. And of course, September 26th and 27th, Dalia and myself and Susan Ross and the entire team is going to be down in San Diego for an amazing conference. And we've got the links up for that, and a promo code too as well. It's up in the chat, and I'll get it up in social media over the next couple of days. But I will see you in a couple of weeks. Are you bringing Lidu with you?
Lidu will be there, and she will be demonstrating as well.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. It's going to be so much fun. So just safe travels. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks right here in sunny Southern California. We're going to have a blast. In the meantime, give my best to Lidu. Okay. She already knows. She already knows.
She does.
She's like, man, why do they keep saying my name? So, but give my best to her. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, and we're going to sit down and break some bread. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect conversation, Dalia. All the best, and behave and be well. And I'll see you in San Diego. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Perfect show tonight, everybody. Dalia Burgoin. And I gotta say, you guys got a real bona fide treat tonight to see that demonstration go down. I didn't know how we could do this over the internet, but that was a lot of fun. So you got to experience it. So go to visionwithouteyes.com and start your journey there. And if you want to come and hang out with us in San Diego, you can do that too as well. We've got the links up in the chat with the promo code. So there you go. Tomorrow night, I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night here on Fade to Black, this is a show that I've been wanting to put together for a while, just like Dalia tonight. That is Trevor Grassi is going to be here. A lot has gone viral with the SARS project and what has been revealed underneath the pyramids and the Sphinx in Giza. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about all of that and the latest discoveries tomorrow night with Trevor Grassi. So I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Until tomorrow night, all I've got is Go Backley Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go Backley Tappy.